current budget to support a fire department. I want the residents to know as well that this is just the start of a snowball that will just continue to get larger. Maybe fire services need to be explored as a county regional service. Progress.
I'd like to respond to that. Mr. Brown, thank you for your opinion. Let's be very clear about what's really going on here, because this has nothing to do with council having the money in the budget. This has nothing to do with council wanting to do this. This has everything to do with a Pennsylvania Supreme Court case. A Pennsylvania Supreme Court case that ruled against the Borough of Emmaus stating that our firefighters are indeed employees. You have two choices here. Choice number one is shut it down, have no fire department at all. Choice number two is recognize the fact that they're employees. Borough Council has recognized the fact that they're employees. What this tax increase does is it is an increase of 0.465 mils. Not something that Borough Council wants to do by any means. It's going to generate $360,375. The average tax bill will increase by 8.44%. The average house worth $163,100 will see a $75.84 tax increase. It's important to note the tax increase is solely to cover the wages of the fire department. It's important to note also that the tax increase covers less than one-half of the wages and staffing requirements the fire department union previously requested in contract proposals. Therefore, this may not be the last of the tax increase that you see. So again, you have two choices. Negotiate with the fire department or shut it down. And we do not believe that shutting it down is a feasible and viable option to this community. Therefore, the only option that this Borough Council seems to be facing is to deal with this. We wish we had other solutions. This isn't a political stance by any means. This is reality. We had warned you before that had this gone through, we would be seeing somewhere around the $200 per household tax increase. If they get what they want, it'll be somewhere around the $200 per year tax increase. That's reality. I told you before when we were in our numerous budget workshops that the number that we're settling with here is probably most likely under what an arbitrator will give that department. However, we felt that this was the most feasible option at this point. So again, Mr. Brown, thank you. But I felt that everyone in this room and everyone in the public needs to hear the other half of that. And that is, there's no political stance here by anybody. This is reality. We don't see another option other than closing the doors to the fire department, and we don't think that's a viable option. Those are the discussions we've had. We've had it for hours and hours and hours. I mean, we dedicated an entire 3-hour workshop to that matter, which was a public meeting. That's where we are with it.
Councilman Barrett.
I mean, it's an accurate statement. I mean, I think you said it, and I just want to make sure that it's clear. Is that, I mean, the tax increase that you're seeing here would not be happening if we had not lost that.
That's absolutely correct.
That Supreme Court case, correct?
That is absolutely correct.
As you know, there were 3 judges in the Commonwealth Court that understood it, and 4 who apparently didn't or ignored it, and then the Supreme Court just said that they weren't interested in hearing it.
I mean, if I can add an opinion, I mean, it's probably the most I've struggled ever with a topic. I mean, sometimes it's very straightforward, and you go, okay, you just have to suck it up, and this is what it is. We're going to move forward. However, this one has such the potential for long-standing punishment, for lack of a better word. I mean, the amount of money that we're talking about are numbers that we have not seen in any other time in as far as tax increases go. We're also quite unique. I mean, Mr. Pepe, you can probably answer this more accurate. We're somewhere in like the 1% of municipalities in all of the state that have a full-time fire department. Is that correct?
Yeah, and less than 1% to have a full-time ambulance and fire department.
Well, so it's clear, it's my position that these people can only be part-time. That's my position.
He means
When we say full-time,
So-
we mean 24/7 paid.
Got
A
it.
full-time, yeah, so that at
Not
all
full-time,
times
not
it
like
is
full-time
manned
employees.
by
You're one of the
person.
few boroughs, let's put it that way.
But I think it's across, I think it's all municipalities. I mean, we're in this unique spot, so we're not speaking out of turn when we're saying that I'll speak for myself, that I'm displeased that this is the position that we're in, especially, I mean, I've sat on here for 12 years and worked incredibly hard to try and get the most for our money, made the borough as efficient as possible, given the services that people still want. And this one still makes you struggle, especially when you compare it to other emergency services. And again, it's hard to talk about this and not for people to think that there's an attack on firefighters. In no way is it an attack on firefighters or any of the emergency services. You have to be able to have an honest dialogue about this. So anyone that tries to frame that conversation as, oh, look, they're anti-fire department, that's not that at all. We have excellent volunteers. We have people that have responded for years as volunteers, and I think that's important to note. But to have this kind of tax increase, I think, is extremely notable. I understand why you're in the position that you don't want to vote for it. It's crossed my mind many times. But even if we cut other major things, I mean, things that residents have asked for us for years about paving more roads. Am I correct? We have about $200,000 in road work. Wouldn't even cover it. We could cut every bit of road work out of it, stuff that residents we know want, and it still would not cover that. And again, this is incremental. We're trying to be as cautious as we can in this first step, but really don't know what the next step is. I'm sure others have opinions. I just want the residents to know that I'm extremely disappointed that this is the position that we're at. However, as stated at least 3 times now, that this is the direct result of losing a longstanding legal battle, and now we have to pay for it.
Councilman Dufresne.
So I agree with everything that Wes just said here. The one thing that I would add here, if there is a silver lining to this, we should actually have a better department at the end of the day now, because we actually do now have control. So while I do not like what's happening here, the end result, if we do this correct, could be better services for the borough. I still don't like the increase. I will vote for this budget here, because like you said, we hashed this out, in meetings and stuff, and unfortunately, it's one of those, it is what it is. We don't have a whole lot of choice right now. We could budget lower, and then if we lose, then we just go back and get double at the time here. I mean, this is the best case scenario for us right now on where we are, and that's the harsh facts. If we do this right, though, we should have better services for the borough.
Thank you. Councilman Anders.
I didn't want to comment on that part of the budget, but the remainder of it. And first say, everyone in this room spent countless hours here working on this budget and working hard to keep it as balanced as possible. And Mr. Pepe alone has spent more probably sleepless nights than any of us since June, July, putting numbers together. We can't forget that, and we also can't forget that council worked to ensure that everything that did go into the regular portion of the budget is something that's going to be used and utilized to make our employees' jobs better, safer, our roads improved. And there's a lot of positives to this budget that we don't want overshadowed by what could be construed as negativity of the fire increase. So I just wanted to make sure that the positive stuff was shown as well versus what we heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I would like to just say to the public, we are budgeting for next year blindly because we're starting negotiations from scratch, a whole contract without knowing what's going to happen. And there was a long debate during our budget process, and you heard some of the comments from Shane and Wes, and well, it wasn't easy, but it was agreed upon after a long debate, and those are the numbers we came up with. And nobody's happy about it, but we have to move on. We're still going to have the service that we always had, and like Councilman Dufresne said, that hopefully those services will improve in the future. I do want to say that, Councilman Brown, I'm disappointed in your statement tonight because we had over 20 hours of budgeting as a council as a whole, and I don't remember you saying any of those things, and you had every opportunity to bring that up. If you did bring it up, I don't remember it, at least not in the statement that you made tonight. And I would like to ask that you reconsider, because this council worked hard, And there is every reason why we need to budget for that, and for you just to vote no, I think you know why you want to do that, but I think you need to do the right thing and reconsider. So with that being said, does anybody else have anything to say? Councilman
Just real
DeFrey.
quick, I want to go, I'm not saying that we have poor fire service right now. I wanted to say that at the end and I forgot, but I just say it'll get better. It should get even better.
Councilman Barrett.
And before we comment further, I'm assuming, Mr. Pepe, when we get to the actual budget, you're going to give us a synopsis, is that correct? So we should probably wait for those comments about the rest of the budget and all that till later, is that accurate? Okay.
Councilman
Just
Brown.
for clarity, yes, I have shared my sentiments with full council during those meetings.
You never once said you were going to vote against it.
Do I have to share that all the time?
Well,
I'm not here to nitpick, but
I mean, you
the
made
issue
a
is,
statement for a reason. We know why, but that's all
what's the
right.
reason?
I'm not going to say it publicly.
Okay, so what you're giving an accusation here. The thing is, it's first reading. If I want to vote yes or no on it, I can. The second reading is what means the most, and that's what's going to happen. So I'm just disappointed. What I'm saying is it's a disappointment that we have again in our Supreme Court, in our Commonwealth Court, that they didn't take, like our solicitor said, there's 3 or 4 that understood it, and the other 4 didn't want to understand what was going on. And it's a shame that, again, our residents are going to pick up the tab, $75, and, you know, about what, 33% are seniors here? I mean, I get it. I understand
Everything you
it.
said is correct.
I understand. So,
But we're all disappointed. But we have to, I mean, we lost. We have to pay for the fire department. We have to pay for it.
If I can just comment one more thing. First of all, Mr. Brown, your opinion is your opinion. I appreciate it. I respect everybody's vote. I'm not asking you to reconsider. Your vote is your vote, and I respect that. I do want to point out, though, just one thing that I do take a little bit of umbrage with, and that is you said that you were disappointed in the firefighters,
nope, I said I was disappointed in the Emmaus Union Fire Department.
which is the firefighters.
No, not all
Oh,
of them.
okay, all right, whatever. Let's not, they're the firefighters.
The volunteers
Um,
are dedicated to this
Here's
borough.
my issue with that, Mr. Brown. We should be as disappointed in ourselves as we should be with them.
Yeah.
And you know exactly why,
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with
all
that.
right? The disappointment shouldn't be in the firefighters. It shouldn't be with the union. The bottom line is, we lost a court case because of mistakes that were made 20 years ago. And they should have been fixed 20 years ago. They should have been fixed 10 years ago. We tried to fix them 5 years
I
ago.
was gonna say, we tried.
That's not on the firefighters. That's on the leadership of this borough as much as it is on the firefighters. So we should really be disappointed in ourselves as well.
Anybody else? This is a roll call vote. Councilman Dufresne?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilbert?
Aye.
Councilman Barrett?
Aye.
Councilman Brown?
Aye.
Councilman Schipsta?
Aye.
Councilman Anders?
Aye.
Councilman Ladenburg? Aye. There are 7 ayes. Thank you for all the discussion. Nobody's happy about this, but hopefully we can move on, and Borough is all the better for it. Under unfinished business part 2, we have ordinance 1168, which will have second reading December 18th, which is our second meeting this month. Does anybody have anything for items not on the agenda? Hearing none, mayor's report.
Nothing, Mr. President.
Thank you. Committee reports. Chairman Brown, Public
Uh,
Works.
Nothing for official action, and our next meeting is December 11th at 3 PM here in council chambers. I'll report progress.
Mr. Brown, do you want a road list proposal from Mr. Dyschala for next year?
Or do you want to wait till the reorganization? What's going to be
We should
best?
probably at least start getting it around.
Yeah, we can do that. And also, can we just get a status on the current projects?
Yep.
That'd be great. I know you're busy with the budget.
No problem.
Health, Sanitation, and Codes, Chairman Schipsta.
We have nothing for official action. However, Shane, how do you want to,
Well, I saw Mr. Augustine here, I saw Mr. Karas here, so if you want to invite them to the podium.
I'd like to invite
Gentlemen.
Mascaro representatives to the podium, please. For the public, we invited them here this evening because of ongoing problems and complaints from the residents and council members. and staff.
So this is not going to be, just a bitch session. I'm not going to be yelling at you or anything like that. I mean, I'm just here to get some answers for the residents in regards to just specific dates that we have written down that seems to be popping up. There are issues with a lot of late service. And I understand that some of the emails that I have here, the trucks are broken down. I mean, they come back from your company. All I want to do is get to the whys of why things are happening this way on specific dates. And if you could explain some of the issues you're running into, and if there's problems that we can help you out with, or why this is occurring to our residents. I mean, they're the ones who are sending all the emails to us, and you can see the stack I have here. I mean, it's just a bunch of, complaints, and a lot of them, you got to look at the time and the date and when they come in and stuff like that. But, if you could explain some of the issues, especially on specific dates. Like, I know I have 3 dates here, just randomly was on the 8th, the 15th, and the 29th were some times that, to be perfectly honest, I come back through Emmaus to get to wrestling practice. I come right through on Broad Street, going down, and that's around 3:30, 4 o'clock. When I hit Broad Street on that side, their stuff's not picked up on those specific dates. And I've written those down just to be clear that I'm just to understand why they weren't picked up and what was happening there.
Sam Augustine, Director of Sales for Mascaro. Again, I've been with the company many years, and as Director of Sales, it's really a misnomer with my title. I do understand every aspect of the business. I try to make myself aware of what's going on with the municipalities and our overall customer base, not just selling them, but servicing them. With me tonight is Chris Karras, our General Manager. Our people are working very, very hard at our division. Sometimes we can work hard without working smart. The borough of Emmaus pays us a lot of money for waste and recycling service. You actually extended our contract, which we were very appreciative of earlier in the year. The contract says clearly what's expected to be done in the borough. We have times that we're supposed to have that trash up. The times that you give us are ample. In fact, we're allowed to come into the borough at 4 o'clock. We should have this done by 4 o'clock at night. I mean, I don't see it as a problem.
Actually, the contract's 2 o'clock,
Contracts
sir.
too.
I know, but I think, and again, I know that, but I think that the borough had given us, extra time to get this done as long as it wasn't on the street, as long as it was off the street during daylight hours. I guess that's the best way to put it. The contract says 2 o'clock. But we had been complying with that, I guess, over a year, maybe a little bit more than a year. But we've had issues now. I guess some issues came up in the spring, which is a heavy time of year, but this certainly isn't the heaviest time of year, and we've had issues in November. So I guess what I'm saying is there's no reason for it, and it needs to be rectified. I'd like to tell you it's going to be rectified Wednesday, but I'm not thrilled that I have to be here tonight. But again, you pass a lot of money for your waste removal and recycling.
I'd like to open it up to council. Councilman Barrett?
So I appreciate you recognizing it, but what is really the why? I mean, why is that happening so
Well,
that
some of the reasons, as you know, but I'm not here to make excuses, but some of the reasons, as you know, that there is a shortage of CDL drivers. So we've had some issues with drivers. Again, I point to management. Management needs to train and keep drivers. That's what we all strive for. But there are shortages of drivers in the market. It's not only affecting Mascaro, it's affecting other companies, but it's not an excuse. That's maybe one of the reasons. Okay? Another reason is our management needs to do a better job of getting there in the morning and be certain that we're covering these routes like they should be covered. If there's a shortage on one truck, the other truck should be able to pick up the slack. I know the tonnage that's coming out of this community. It's quite clear. You have how many homes is it? About 3,000 in neighborhood?
Go to the 4.
4,000. 4,000, but you're doing somewhere between 60 and 70 ton a week, so I know what it takes to pick it up, and we should be managing to make sure that our trucks are out there. If we have a shortage of one truck, another truck needs to follow up and make sure that these routes are properly gotten done. Yes.
So let me take that question a little further then. And again, I appreciate that you're being very straightforward with
Right.
us on all of this. And I understand, yes, management, I mean, that's often the problem with a lot of companies. Is there something that you can say, this is what's going to happen, or here's how I'm going to get the message to management to kind of change the tone of what's going on here? I mean, it shouldn't be happening. I mean, of course, we all understand that there will be times that, it might be a rough week, or two employees leave and you don't expect it, it was the
Right.
night before, that type of
Right.
stuff will happen. But it seems that it's been perpetually getting worse. We've perpetually told you more and more, and we've gotten louder with our concerns. But I don't think that we've really seen any adjustment or
Well,
kind of a
I
scaling
can tell
back.
you that squeaky wheel gets the grease, okay? Or that we have other issues in a couple other communities. Not as much so as here as in Emmaus. Again, there's been, I believe, 3 in November where we've been late on the street. When I say late, we've been out, I think Mr. Pepe pointed out to me in an email, we've been out later than 5, 6 o'clock at night. So I believe that you will see better service as of Wednesday. I will tell you then, that over Christmas and New Year's, it causes, well, I believe Christmas and New Year's is on a Monday, so everything is probably pushed back a day. We do have Saturday, but Christmas and New Year's, it's always a bit heavier with the trash, but after that, things really lighten up.
Go ahead, you finish up, Wes.
And I certainly understand that, and I think that residents are accepting of that. They know
Yes.
that that is a special exception. They like to
Right.
have off, and so do
Right.
your employees. So,
Right.
is it realistic that we will see a change?
Yes.
And what is it that, I mean, what should give us that confidence? I mean, is it just that you're going to personally change what's going on, or, I mean, what
Well,
are
I'm
we
getting
really
too
going to
old
see?
pick up trash, but I can tell you that there's a spotlight shining on this situation right now.
I mean, has the process of hiring more employees happened yet, or?
Well, we have human resources people that are slated to be in our division over the next 2-3 weeks to get more hands on deck.
Okay.
Councilman Dufresne.
So, shortage of drivers you're talking about here, you're also saying that we verbally said it was okay till 4 o'clock, is what I heard, at least that's what he said. I'm not saying we agreed to that, but that's what he said.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
Okay. There
Well,
are provisions in the contract that allow us to fine you.
Yes.
We have not done that yet, to my recollection, right?
No.
No.
What I will say on that is that's like if you don't charge somebody for paying you late, there's no incentive for them to pay you on time because it doesn't cost any more 3 days from now or a month from now. I don't like that type of relationship. I'd rather not have to do that. But I'd like to give them a period of time here because you can't fix something by Wednesday. I hope it's fixed by Wednesday, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. That's just the reality of business. I mean, I'm in business too.
I don't disagree.
So I like to give them a time period here, and I'm just gonna say to January 1st, this is my opinion, that starting January 1st, we're gonna enforce the fines that are in the contract. That would be my recommendation.
With the 2 o'clock pickup?
I'm okay to listening to 4, but I think we should put that in there because then it goes against the contract. I think we should do some type of 1 paragraph
No,
note.
I think we have a reason for 2 o'clock.
Like I said, that's not a hill for me to die on. If they could pick everything up at 4 o'clock and it would solve everything, I think I'd be thrilled with that. I don't think that's gonna solve everything though. It's just my opinion. To me, 2 to 4, I could go either way. I think we should start enforcing the fines. Give them some time here. Not a lot, but give them a time. January 1st is almost a month.
I think one of the reasons is maybe schools being let out,
Like I said,
stuff like
if we
that.
wanna
I think
stick
there's
to
a
2,
reason why it's 2
If
o'clock.
we wanna stick to 2, I won't vote no for that. If we wanna stick to 2, I have no problem with that, but I think we should start instituting the fines once we give them some time to hire
I'm
some
fine
people.
with January 1st and then enforcing the penalties. I'm fine with that. Councilman Anders?
Couple questions. The first would be about the trucks. I know you said something broke down. do you not have backup trucks? I mean, if something breaks down, why would not something else not come out and trash not be picked up till 8:30 in the evening? I mean, I would think you have a fleet that could, you know, come in and take care of the issue.
It's a good question, and we do have backup trucks. So I'm not familiar with a specific instance where a truck
On
broke down.
November, I believe it was it the 15th?
It was the
Gene?
15th where you
Where
guys
we
got
got
out
the
there about
reply.
7:30. There was a whole area missed. I know I saw a bunch of emails that came in, that they had they hadn't seen anybody there.
I would certainly believe that, with my experience in the business, that perhaps a truck did break down, but that doesn't mean that that trash shouldn't have been picked up, again, by 4 o'clock. There's extra equipment to do the job. You just have to plan and get it moving.
So I'm gonna be honest with you, my frustration is when this contract came to fruition and you first came here, I was one that sat in this chair and said, we need to give them a chance, because there was a lot of residents that said that I was quoted in it, and I'll be honest with you, the chances are gone. We had a meeting with you, I was on the refuse, our committee several, it might have been 2 years ago, may have been less than that. And you came out, made promises, and that's when, you know, we talked about the fines, you were being fined at that point. And now it's gone back to the same area. Me sitting here as a councilman, I have no faith in your business, because when you came in before, we were told things would get better. They did for a little, then they go down, then they come back and they get better. It's without saying wishy-washy, I would say it comes to that. I am comfortable with giving you till January 1st, and then I agree, and I was gonna bring up the fines because I'm looking at them in section 23 of the contract. The 2 o'clock time, that's what was agreed upon, I think we should stick to it. We put it in there, you agreed to it, we agreed to it. You know, we should live within the parameters of what was put out there. We did give you the extension, so it's in there, and it does say it. I see a lot of feedback from our residents. I read a couple that's emailed me earlier, and they're unhappy. And they're unhappy because they're sweeping up glass. They're picking up stuff. It's not there, and, you know, where the trucks did come out at 4 o'clock, I'll be honest with you, I didn't care if they woke me up if they came out at 4 o'clock. I heard it, and at that time period, they got in, they got out, they got everything done. That's a service we agreed to. That's the service I want to see, and I know our residents want to see, you know, going forth, or they don't want you. And when that time comes for a new contract, and actually I'll be sitting here because I have been reelected, it's going to make it tougher. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. The one thing I want to address, maybe it's for Chris, but the one thing that I witnessed was safety issues. It was about 7 o'clock at night, and it was on Little Lehigh Drive. And the issue was that it was one driver, only one person. He was the driver and the picker. The concern I had was that he was driving. You got to give that guy a bonus. He was doing his due diligence. He really was. But what I was concerned about, okay, he gets out of the truck, and I know that, you know, there's mechanical fails, and we've seen on the news, you know, accidents and things. I was really concerned about that. Number one, for his safety. What if that truck started rolling and he's behind it? You might not see him again, or he might have a workman's comp issue and he's disabled for life. Or it goes into one of our homes, and one of our residents' homes. I'm very concerned about that, and I hope that you guys would fix this safety issue, and please make sure, Chris, that you have more than one person on the truck. And I understand that CDL drivers are at a minimum, you know, sometimes can be a minimum, but if you guys can do something there, that'd be great. But yeah, if I was here, I would be in agreement with Mr. Anders. It would be tough to renew the contract.
Well, let me and again, I'm certainly appreciative of all your comments tonight. With a guy with as much experience as I have in the trash business, I'm very confident in our company. Our company is it's a well-known company. It's a very successful company. We have over 80 municipalities in eastern Pennsylvania. Our service overall, I consider it to be done at a very high level. I believe it for a lot of this contract, and I've been here now, I believe, twice. For a lot of this contract, we've done a good job. after the last time I've been here. You have to remember that there's 8,000 pickups a week here. And 8,000 pickups a week is, and again, I don't want to just, I can go into numbers. There's 8,000 pickups a week. You go over 52 weeks, that's 450,000 pickups. And I know that there's complaints that come out, and the complaints need to be logged. And I should take a look at the complaints, but I'm sure there's been periods where there's been good service. But over the past few weeks, there hasn't been good service, and I'm willing to say that. I'm also, Mr. Brown, as far as safety with our trucks, we have incidents and we have problems like any other trash hauler. There should be two people on the truck. There certainly should be 2 people on a truck. In some instances, we have 3 people on a truck. That's probably the norm, is to have 3 people. But if a guy's driving, one guy's driving, he certainly has the experience to be sure that he's safe with that truck. Obviously, he's with him by himself. There could be workman's comp issues if the guy is lifting too much or something like that. But we're trying never to be putting people on the street where they're not supposed to be safe. Again, you don't like to be out at night simply because it's probably not as safe at night to be picking up trash. Although the city of Allentown, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, you're doing that same thing. You're picking up at night. So we're a very, very safe company. We're a very, very reliable company. And I'm here tonight to assure you that we take this contract quite seriously. And I'm upset that I even have to be here. And we're going to do all we need to do to get this contract back on course. And again, I don't want any fines. But if it comes to fines, then we need to reckon with them. But I don't believe there's going to be fines because we're going to settle this matter. And I'm just again, Shane's invited me here tonight, and I'm glad I got to talk with all of you. If there's any other comments, I'll be glad to answer.
Anybody else? Councilwoman Gilbert didn't speak
Yeah,
yet.
go
Let
ahead.
her speak.
I know in the past, we've asked that you do the elementary schools and high school area as early as possible.
Okay.
I'm a volunteer crossing guard at 6th and Elm Streets
Okay.
here in town. When I get to my corner, it's 20 after 8.
Yes.
And parents usually start coming at
Yes.
8:30, 8:35. This is what happens when you guys come in at 8:46.
Okay.
I get a backup of traffic that can't get to the drop-off area.
Okay.
The students need to go.
Okay.
You need to come earlier before 8 o'clock. because
Okay.
This can't happen.
Okay.
It's very difficult for me to do my job, and the
And
parents can't.
how many schools are we talking about in town?
I'm running out of paper. Jefferson, Lincoln, St. Anne's, and Seven Gen.
So there's 7. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the goal was the downtown and all the schools need to be
Downtown
done
was
by
first.
8.
Yeah.
Right.
But if that could be done as early as possible, I know the parents that try to get to Jefferson especially would appreciate it,
Okay.
because your truck does come down the middle of the road.
No, I will say, Shane, when I leave it.
So seven schools in the
5 in
downtown
morning,
are supposed to be done
downtown
before 8.
is- They've gotten through
Yeah.
there already.
Okay.
If we could get that done,
Okay.
that was all I had.
Councilman Dufresne?
And again, I'm not suggesting that we do this because I'd rather not work this way, but we don't have to live with this contract for a year. Section 25 gives us an out for non-performance here. If
Yeah,
it
that
gets
was
to
what
that
he
point.
sent me.
So, just because we renewed, and it specifically even says that if it costs us more, their bond will pay for the difference. So I don't want to get to that part, but, I do appreciate they're not making excuses. Not having enough drivers, that's not an excuse, that's a fact. You have to figure it out.
Right.
I understand that. So I
Right.
do appreciate you pretty much being stand-up up there and saying, we should be able to solve this.
Yes.
And hopefully that's what happens from this meeting.
Right.
And then we all go our merry way and everything's good
Right.
again.
Right.
Anyone else?
No, I'm just gonna say, I mean, based on all these emails here that I see, I mean, there's a lot of, trash not being picked up, but the majority of what I'm seeing in here is the recycling, and I don't know if that's an issue. I mean, are you going through and getting the trash and then the recycling after that, or how does your system work?
No, there's 6 trucks on the road.
Okay.
4 are for trash, 2 are for recycling. So the recycling's totally separate from the trash.
Okay. So they
And
don't
what-
run
what-
on the same circuit?
No,
They're
they're
not like
not.
behind each other or
No,
anything?
no,
Okay.
No, because recycling routes are run at faster pace than the trash routes. So, no, they don't run on the same circuit. What are generally the complaints with recycling?
They're just not picked up. I mean,
Not picked
a lot of them I'm seeing that are just not picked up. I will say one thing though, and I will pay you a compliment
Yes.
to Christine Lopez. She gets an email at, 2:57 and responds at 3:07. So she's pretty quick to respond to find out.
I also want to say that about Chris Karras. I know that
Right.
Oh, yeah?
Mr. Augustine's saying management needs to, and I know Chris is feeling the heat back there, but I've got to tell you,
No, he responds.
I do want to say that every time I call.
I'm management too.
I know that,
Do you
but
understand?
he's back there squirming. I can see him behind you. He's
understand,
back there squirming.
But the last time I came here, I took issue with council on a certain number of things, and I really don't have did take issue with council tonight. So-
Chris does do a great job.
Yep.
Every time we call him, I mean, he is on it.
Right.
I think it's important to note that Chris, I mean, we're throwing a lot at him, and he's trying to deal with that as soon as he possibly can. So we do appreciate the fact that when we do send Ms. Lopez an email, she responds. And
Oh, yeah.
when I call Chris, he picks up,
Right.
because if I was him, I'd say, I don't know if I want to talk to him. But he does pick up, he does respond, he does try to react as quickly as he can.
I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm just telling you guys pay a lot of money for trash removal and recycling removal, and we need to get it taken care of.
Shane, I have a question for you, and I guess both. When a truck goes down, are we notified immediately, or do we hear about this later on? Because I see it in the emails here that a truck
Yeah.
went down.
I don't know, I don't know that for sure. It would be between Jessica and their group. I don't want to say one way or the other,
Okay.
but normally Miss Wessner handles that throughout the day.
Okay.
Anybody else? Now it's my turn. I heard most of the comments regarding times for pickup, not actually how they're picking stuff up. More specific, returning cans to the curb, laying in the street, 4 feet from the curb. And I'm not afraid to go talk to the driver, because I know the driver is the manager of the crew. And I go to the driver and I say, why are you not putting the cans on the curb upside down? And he says, you're right. They do it on my circle, and they go around the corner, and when I drive out a half hour later, they're all on the street. So they do it for show in front of me, but as soon as they get around the corner, it's back in the street. You don't know how much that irritates me. And it shouldn't be in the street. I shouldn't have to go move a can so I can pull out from my parking spot. It should be on the curb. Now, I've seen crews where one guy puts it on the curb and the other guy doesn't. Why is that? It's not being enforced. You have a truck driver that's the manager, and he should be enforcing that. Doesn't happen all the time. Now, it's been better lately, and I drive around and I look for this. Now, I've had an incident already where something broke, and I went to the truck driver and I said, why is this not being, cleaned up? I said, you should have a broom and something to sweep it into. And he says, well, we don't. Well, I would think that's part of your truck. You should have something to clean up spills. But he told me he didn't. That's unacceptable. Things are going to break. Now, with that being said, stuff being blown around and stuff, sometimes that's on the residents because they have it overflowing, and I know that. So that's not on you. But when I see something dumped, like they go to dump it and a plastic bottle blows down the street, that's on them. That's not on the borough resident. These things need to be addressed.
Tightened up. They need to be tightened up from not only aspects of being, some of the other issues, but they need to be tightened up. That's what supervision is about. That's, we're supposed to have a supervisor that's following these routes, taking care of the issues that you're talking about. He's supposed to be checking in with your borough manager, and issues with containers not back on the curb or sloppiness, they need to be taken care of by the supervisor. So you're exactly right.
There's two separate incidents on my street where gunk has come out of the truck and stained the street.
Yes,
One is like a 40-foot street.
yes.
That happened maybe a year and a half ago.
Yes.
I took pictures and actually sent them to
Right.
Shane. And one happened within the last 6 months. And I believe my neighbor took pictures of that. I didn't know that that neighbor
Right.
took pictures, but Shane had told me about that. I don't think it's coming from the stuff that's being put in the garbage. I think it's coming from the truck. Whether it is or not, that's unacceptable, staining our streets too.
Well, it could be hydraulic fluid, and if it's hydraulic fluid, Mr. President, that should be reported, and then there's sand, or some type of what's it called? Absorbent should be brought out here to take care of it. I mean, that's not just happens in Emmaus, that could happen other places, could occur. But that's supposed to be sorted out and handled. I mean, that's like any other issue.
And lastly, we had an incident where I called you, both of you, and I spoke to you, and it wasn't too pleasant either, because I had some curse words in there, and I apologize for that, and I think I apologized when I talked to you too. First of all, I thank you because you were getting better with the times. I thank you first. But then you had an incident with one of your employees who was smarting off to me and saluting me and
Right.
have a nice day, sir. And I wasn't even talking to that person. I was speaking to your driver.
Right.
And then when I went back a second time, because that same person didn't put the can on the curb after I got done talking to your driver, had a nice, smart comment to me. And you addressed that day, and I appreciate that. And you actually called me and told me what action you took.
Right,
I don't know if you want me to state that publicly or not, but
Right.
it was addressed.
right.
That shouldn't be happening either.
No,
And I was not the only person that person smarted off, because when I called Borough Hall, there were 6 or 7 other people that complained about the pickup that day. And our receptionist actually told me that somebody else complained about that driver smarting off to them.
right.
But you did address that already, so I thank you for that.
Right.
But that's unacceptable. That represents your company, and you're the ones hiring them.
Absolutely. They're actually our customer service people out there on the trucks every day. They're the people that the customers interact with. No question.
All right, with that being said, I think we're in agreement as a council that you're under notice at January 1st.
Right,
Pickup's got to be done by 2 o'clock. You understand? 2 o'clock, not 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock. That's what the contract says. And cans better be on the curb, there better not be spills. And if cans aren't picked, or neighborhoods are missed, you're going to start getting fined. I don't know any other way to address it than that, but that's giving you a month to get it organized, get your drivers and get your workers in order.
I'd like to, if it's possible, have a discussion, get this service in order and have a discussion about that 4 to 2. And it's not just a question of what's ironclad in that contract. I think it's more a question of what is more appropriate with how trash and recycling is picked up currently. I think those times were from a prior era, and with the times now that we have at disposal sites and disposal facilities, that 10-hour window sometimes becomes a problem. So I don't know if it'd be possible to.
How is that a problem?
Well, disposal sites are generally open from 6 to 4. Sometimes it's a problem with those hours of 4 to 2, fitting in, getting in, being able to dump, and being able to get a second load to the disposal site. But
So we're in the 4th year of the contract. Why are we
Yeah.
just hearing about that now?
I don't know, sir, that we've been getting out of here Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. Were we getting out of here consistently before 2 in the past?
Yes. First couple of years, it wasn't an issue.
Well, I just want to be sure that I don't want to put myself in a position where we're going to, I'm just asking that if we could have perhaps a meeting about that. I don't want to put myself in a position not to be able to handle this contract. I can get back to you tomorrow about it. I can, go speak to operational people.
Are we gonna have our health and sanitation, are we gonna have the meeting here? I'm not saying I agree with them, but I'm willing to at least let them talk.
It can be addressed at the committee level.
Are you gonna have a meeting in
Yeah.
December?
Yeah, I want to have, and deal with this situation
So
also.
December 21st is your next meeting
Yes,
at 4:15.
4:15.
I would just appreciate if I could talk to the
Right,
Health and
makes
Sanitation Committee meeting and not just make it set in stone today or tonight, and then get back word to you, maybe even before the December 21st.
Councilman Barrett.
I actually just wanted to hear your answer. Has it been consistently done before too?
I think there's been periods where we've been getting done it too, but I think one of our issues is, in order us to get done it too, we have to get in here early. So if the dump site doesn't open until 6, they don't get dumped till 6, meaning they're getting in late just off the get like that. So that's really where the big issue is.
But wouldn't that just mean, maybe you need another truck here to get it done then in that time period? I just, if you set up a business model and you said you could do it, I think it should be delivered on what was set up, and
I think we can beat,
apologize.
I'm sorry, I think we can beat this to death tonight, or we can maybe deal with it at the
That's fine,
committee.
I'm just saying, I'm not on that committee, this way that committee can hear my thoughts on it.
All right, we'll be looking for your presence at the
Okay.
December 21st, 4:15 meeting
4:15.
here in
Yeah.
Council Chambers, right here at the table.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming out.
I started, I know.
Chairman Shipsta, you're still on?
I am. Wow, it's a long time. Our next meeting is scheduled for December 21st at 4:15, and I report progress.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation Committee, Chairman Anders?
I have nothing for official action. The December meeting is canceled, so we will pick up in the new year. Progress.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Chairwoman Gilbert?
Thank you. I have nothing for official action this evening. You can see we had an appointment as a volunteer rather, to the ambulance corps, individual by the name of Olin Perkins. So he is a new volunteer to the corps. I'd like to welcome him along. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, December 6th at 3 p.m. Mr. Pepe, during staff meeting tomorrow morning, if you ask department heads whether or not they have anything that we need to act on. If not, I could cancel that meeting. I don't think we have anything pending at this point.
His hand's gonna be
I'm still up on
I know you are.
Shipsta's-
I know you are. I would just ask.
Go backwards?
He told me earlier he's running out of paper.
Well, I have
Sorry
more.
about that.
I would just ask that members of council keep their eye on
Yep.
South Sixth Street by Funk's. The curbing has been painted. The signs will go up for no parking. However, when we talked about that, we did nothing on the west side of South Sixth from the area of the back entrance, or the back exit of Turkey Hill, traveling south to the railroad tracks. Saturday night, I did notice there were 7 vehicles parked in that area. So if you just want to keep an eye on that for now, that might be something that we need to act on
Address later on.
later.
Okay.
That was me. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think that was 7 vehicles that all belong to you. Mr. Barrett?
I mean, I think the one comment, by definition, though, the inlet or outlet, whatever you want to call it, for what is Rita's, that comes behind there, that should automatically be, they can't park within a certain space then. Should we have painted those anyhow? I don't even think it needs to be in the ordinance, because by definition.
For a drive.
I think it's 15 feet on either side of the driveway entrance, that
So
it should be
that
no
would be-
parking.
That was the only thing that I saw as an issue. The cars being there, I mean, on first glance, that's how I saw it, but I saw how close the cars parked, and Rita's is closed right now, but they were, I mean, as close as you could be,
As
if
they
not
can get.
actually blocking it a little bit.
Yeah, so if you just want to keep an eye on that, and we'll see what happens. But,
Maybe we can address painting the curbs, if that's?
They've been painted.
No, on the exit.
According to the ordinance, the way we just passed the ordinance tonight.
Yes.
The curbing has been
No,
painted.
I'm referring to what he brought up.
Oh,
the
okay.
exit of
Okay.
Turkey Hill, maybe that can be addressed with the
Okay.
painting of the curb for that.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll, if we need to do anything further in that area, then we will. Other than that, I'll report progress.
Thank you. General Administration Committee, Chairman Barrett.
All right, since we've all spoken a lot here, I'm going to make this one quick. We have an agreement with the Public Works Collective Bargaining Agreement. I will place that in, well, it's a duration of January 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2021. I'll place that in the form of a motion.
There's a motion by Councilman Barrett. Is there a second? Councilwoman Gilbert, any questions or discussion on the contract? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
And then, Mr. Pepe, do you want me to also read the Public Works rules?
Yeah, we should adopt a new.
Okay, I just didn't know if we need to do that right now. So the next is, has to do with the Public Works rules, there we go. The rules and safety regulations for conduct by non-supervised employees effective January 1st, 2018, and I'll place that in the form of a motion.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilman Barrett. Is there a second? Councilwoman Gilbert, questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
The next item is a temporary agreement with the IAFF Local 5004. I'll place that in the form of a motion.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilman Barrett. Is there a second? Councilwoman Gilbert, just for the public's information, it is the International Firefighters Association Local 5004. That is what the temporary agreement is with, or who it's with, and the borough.
Can we explain it at all?
Yeah.
Did we have a second yet? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I second it.
Okay, go ahead. Please fill us in.
So I mean, as we discussed earlier, now that the fire department has employees per the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, we have to come in compliance with the Federal Fair Labor Standard Act. They have to be paid for 100% of the time that they're working. So they have, as well as the borough, have reached out in Olive Branch and decided to agree that effective January 1st, we would pay each employee minimum wage for every hour worked until such time that a contract is reached, at which time whatever wage is agreed upon or an arbitrator rules, if there's retro pay involved, whatever, but it'll put us in compliance with the Fair Labor Standard Act, which is obviously essential. So there's no more volunteer an hour, get paid an hour, or get paid 50% of whatever the wage, whatever it is that they created in 1997 or whatever year it was, that goes away. They're getting paid 100% of their time. It is minimum wage. It's temporary. That's why it says temporary agreement. That is definitely not what they're asking for in their union contract proposals. But we felt that this would get us out of the Fair Labor Standard Act issue, and Solicitor Dimick has reviewed it. He put comments in there. We made the changes that he suggested, and the fire department union voted on Thursday to approve their end of it.
Thank you.
Quick question.
Councilman Anders?
Pepe, do they have a time punching machine there, or how are they?
They do.
Hours being?
They have always had a time punching machine. That's one of the things that was very detrimental to our case.
Just wanted, I
Yeah.
wanted to see how that was being calculated and timed. Thank you.
They're good at that job.
Thanks for that, Mr. Anders.
I'm the new guy, remember? No.
So,
He's gonna bring it up next.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Brewery issues.
yeah, I know. But we haven't voted on this.
So, any other comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
All right, and then we have the results from our hearing earlier that we need to approve.
So you want to make,
Do you want me to go through them?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I have it, but.
Want to approve the conditional use subject to the following conditions.
Yes, as
As
he
that
said.
stated.
All right, your following
As
conditions are, number one, there will be 59 parking spaces, shared parking spaces. Number two, to expand the outside, they must go through council. Number three, there'll be no storage outside. If they do want to store anything outside, they must go through council. Number four is they must keep, maintain, and produce their state license. Number five is that their hours of operation, Monday to Friday, their business operations will be from 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The tap room will be open on Thursday from 5 to 8 p.m., Friday 5 to 11 p.m., Saturday 12 to 11 p.m., Sunday 12 to 5 p.m. Mr. Bonner, is that what we agreed upon? That's what your understanding of it? Yes. Okay. So those were the conditions that I understand them to be.
And this is for the Cave Brewing Company, since we didn't mention it, but
Yes, and to move it forward, I'll make that a motion.
there's a motion on the floor, seconded by Councilman Anders. Any questions or discussion? Councilman Barrett?
So I'm in favor of everything there, but the issue with the tent, I'd rather see that be approved now, because just having seen the way that the other two have operated, I feel that it's going to be something that we're going to end up right back at this place.
So
at some
you
point.
want to allow that from the get-go?
Yeah.
Without having to come back and explain how they're going to use it or
Correct.
anything?
It would be conforming with what the other, what essentially has been allowed by the others.
Okay, so there's
Well, no, I'm just we're in discussion, so.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to concur with Mr. Barrett saying is that one of the benefits to small businesses like this is that under the LCB, they're able to extend that because they're, for example, their occupancy maybe is only for 26 people, but that tent allows people to move out and not violate that occupancy rule. So that is another reason that I would like to see allow them.
I'm fine with it. It's just that he said he had such a large place that he doesn't foresee it in the near future. That's why I thought maybe down the road he can come back with a plan, but if the rest of council feels that's fine.
No, I'm not fine with it, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I live in that area. That whole road right there is basically, you can enter from all sides from that curbing. So you put a tent out there, what's to stop anybody from coming down and turning into that area where the tent is sticking out? It's in the front of the building, it's not in the back of the building, like Funk has one in the back of the building.
And that's why I think there should be a plan.
Yeah, that's why I'm not in favor of putting a tent out in front of the building.
I mean, I'm fine with it if it's explained and how it's going to be set up. But
Okay.
we don't get that by saying what we're going to allow it, but we're not, I mean, we're not setting up how we want it to be.
Just from my understanding, yours is a safety concern?
Yes,
Okay.
mine's a safety
I-
concern.
And mine is, had I had not seen the others started to do it, I would, and I pretty much was against it. I think that I don't think that was really established early on. I think
Okay.
if we had that discussion, I mean, it's hard to figure out when you have something that you've never worked on before.
Right.
All of the possible things that could arise. I don't think I would want it, but now I see it as something that's kind of conforming to what has become past practice.
True. Councilman
So
Dufresne.
in the future, if we vote on this the way Wes just stated it here, and they come back 2 or 3 times a year and just throw a number out on the tent, and we see that every time they put it in a certain place, we're okay with, can that be changed later? Can we
It
then
can.
say?
Yeah.
You just have to go through.
You just have to go through a hearing.
You can modify your conditional
Okay.
use after notice so
Okay.
that people have a chance to.
Just so you understand,
I support the way it is.
Just so you understand, I'm not saying they need to come back every time they want to put the tent up. Just one time to set it up how they want to operate it. Just one time coming back. Not, I don't know if that was
Yeah, I'm-
misunderstood or not.
As long as they come back and explain how it's gonna be, but for right now, I don't wanna put it
Well,
out there.
so, Attorney Dimick, I mean, if that's the case, then it should be allowed in the conditional use, just put a provision in that they have to go to a committee to,
Yes.
Yeah,
Get
to
their
explain
first-
where
their
it's gonna
first-
be
Yes.
and how it's
I'm
gonna
fine
be
with that.
used.
I mean,
And I would
essentially, it's
probably
the same
put a
thing.
limit to
Yeah.
not taking up greater than 4 parking spaces or something like that, because really the parking is one of the critical issues in this.
Yeah.
So then, should I amend my,
To allow for a
To
tent,
allow for-
provided they come before
He
council.
made the
I made the
motion.
motion.
You made it.
I mean, you both
I'm
have to,
sorry.
you both have to.
So for clarification purposes, they have to come to us first.
Correct.
On the first time that they're going to.
they're allowed to have it, but they need to come
Yeah,
for,
perfect. I'll amend
and you'll
that.
make your
My
second.
second, yes.
All right, so we have a motion. Does anybody else have anything for discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. It passes seven ayes.
Sir, are those conditions acceptable to you? Because you will receive a notice that'll say you have 10 days to accept the conditions, just so you know that. It'll come to you. So are those acceptable?
That is acceptable. The one thing that I was discussing with the smarter half and better looking is the,
I like the way he
if the
phrases
tent
that.
is an issue, in the front where the garage door is, there's also a side entrance that we could commit to. If we're gonna have a tent, it would be on the side entrance, so it would be away from the front road.
Very well.
Thank you. And best of luck with your business.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome to the borough.
I might have to come and have a lager. I like lager.
Sure, well, I'll try it out.
Yes.
Yeah, she's in walking distance.
All right, and then we have one more item for official action, and that is a motion to advertise for 2 vacancies on Borough Council.
There's a motion to advertise for 2 vacancies on Borough Council.
I just want to make sure.
I'll get it, I'll get it. Is there a second? Councilman Dufresne? There's a motion by Barrett, seconded by Dufresne for advertising for 2 vacancies.
Is there any other terminology that you need in there, that it would be a 2-year, advertise for a
of them.
2-year term?
Yes.
That just gives him the green light. He can style the ad
Okay.
in whatever way he
Okay.
wants.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Wait,
Oh.
I just want to let the public know that it doesn't matter if you're a Republican, Democrat, or any party can submit their application for it.
I believe the
That
requirements
was
are that
per
you be
Tim
a
Bing.
resident, an elector, and a resident of the borough for 1 year.
For 1 year.
Right.
They have to be registered?
Yes, an elector.
Sorry, thank you.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
our next meeting is December 7th at 9 a.m. Progress.
Thank you. Budget and Finance Committee, that is myself. We have a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items to vote on. We have the proposed 2000